On a cold winter's night in Calgary, a close-knit family's world was shattered. What began as a festive Christmas gathering ended in unspeakable tragedy to lives stolen, 3 children left orphaned, and a community in shock. This is the heartbreaking story of love, control, and devastating violence. The story opens in Calgary, Alberta, where Ania Wardzala, known as Annie, was born on February 27, 1991. With Calgary serving as the backdrop for both Ania's dreams and her tragedy, we are then taken back a few years before her birth, to her parents' journey. Stanislaw and Ania Wardzala had arrived from Poland in 1986, carrying little more than hope. They wanted a better life for their future children, a life of stability, opportunity, and freedom. That immigrant dream forms the foundation of this narrative, and it is crucial. It reminds us that what happened later did not only destroy lives, it shattered a dream, carefully built over decades. Stanislaw, the father, was born in Poland in 1953. He had served in the army. In 1987, he married Alina, and soon after came their children Ania in 1991. Peter in 1992. From the very start, the script paints a picture of love and togetherness. This family wasn't fractured or distant. They were tightly bound, guided by their Catholic faith and Polish traditions. Ania's childhood friend Diana later said, "They were always together. They were tight." That closeness is one of the strongest emotional threads woven through the story, because it sets up the heartbreak of later events. From a young age, Ania immersed herself in Calgary's Polish community. She danced with a Polish folk group, sang in the youth choir, and lived her heritage proudly. These weren't casual hobbies. They were markers of her identity, proof that she carried her family's traditions forward with passion. She also joined the Polish Scouts, beginning her journey at Camp Woods in Sylvan Lake. She rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a leader at an international jamboree in Quebec in 2017. That arc aspirant to guide leader shows resilience, discipline, and leadership, qualities that defined her, not only in scouting, but in life. Ania also became a certified lifeguard, often volunteering to organize events and conferences within the Polish community. She wasn't just participating, she was giving back. Structurally, these details matter because they show us that she was more than a victim. She was a builder, a giver, someone who lifted others. The narrative then moves into her academic and professional journey. In 2013, at just 22, Ania graduated with 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Arts in French language and a degree in education. For someone her age, that was an impressive double achievement. It established her as both ambitious and dedicated to knowledge. She soon began her career as a teacher within Rocky View schools. She taught at several schools, Springbank, A.E. Bowers, and finally, Elizabeth Barrett Elementary in Cochrane. Each detail, each school name, roots the story in authenticity, but more than her titles or positions, it was her impact that mattered. Colleagues and students adored her. Rocky View schools later released a statement saying they were grateful for the positive impact Ania had on the lives of students and staff. The most touching part of Ania's life, however, wasn't her career. It was her role as a mother. She gave birth to 3 children, her son Kazio in 2018, her daughter Kalinka in 2020, and her youngest, Katsarek, in 2022. Her life revolved around them. She loved hiking in the mountains, and she always took her kids along, no matter their age. She wanted them to feel the beauty of the outdoors. This detail paints a picture of warmth and nurturing, of a mother who saw adventure as a way to teach her children resilience and joy. Her bond with her younger brother Peter was also profound. They spoke every single day, sometimes just to chat or video call so Peter could see the kids. He said later, "If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be who I am today." That statement isn't just sibling love, it's testimony to how deeply Ania touched people's lives. Parallel to Ania's story runs that of her father, Stanislaw. He too was central to the family's identity. Even as he grew older and developed disabilities, he remained close to his children and grandchildren. He hunted with Peter, camped with him, and cherished time with his family. Peter described him as his best friend. That phrase is important. It elevates the father from a parental role into a companion, a partner in life's journey. For the audience, this double victimhood, both Ania and her father, deepens the heartbreak that the antagonist enters, Benedict Kaminski, Ania's husband. Outwardly, Benedict seemed respectably an engineer with advanced degrees, a licensed gun owner, no criminal record. To society, he looked like a provider, an ordinary man. But behind closed doors, there were darker truths. He was controlling, critical, and paranoid. He would check Ania's phone, demand explanations, and constantly belittle her. There were no police reports, no official records of abuse, which is part of the tragedy. The danger was hidden, invisible to outsiders. This shift in the narrative is crucial. The audience feels the tension begin to rise. We have met the loving family, the dedicated teacher, the joyful mother, and the story accelerates on Christmas Day, 2024. The Wardzala family gathered at Stanislaw and Alina's home. What should have been a day of laughter and celebration turned into something ominous. Benedict argued over trivial matters, how Ania cut pickles where their son wanted to sit. These aren't just details of irritation. They symbolize obsession with control. To argue 3 times in 1 minute over pickles, that's not normal. That's escalation. Peter noticed it. He nearly got into a fight with Benedict. The tension in the room was heavy, toxic, and after the argument, Ania told her brother something that chilled him forever. She planned to leave her husband and file for a protective order. Those words became the most haunting part of her story. She was ready to break free. But for men like Benedict, leaving isn't the end. It's the trigger. 4 days later, on Sunday, December 29th, 2024, the unimaginable happened. At 9:30 p.m., police responded to a call in Calgary's Kenora neighborhood. They found 71-year-old Stanislaw shot dead in his own home. His wife Alina returned to find the man she had married in 1987, the father of her children, lifeless. Hours later, officers went to Ania's home in Tuscany. There, they found her too, dead from gunshot wounds. What makes this section unbearable is the detail that her 3 children were inside, forced to witness their mother's murder. Benedict spared them physically, leaving them with relatives later that night. But emotionally, the scars will last a lifetime. The murders triggered a manhunt. On December 30th, 2024, an Alberta emergency alert was issued, a rare step for domestic cases. Citizens were warned not to approach Benedict, who was armed and dangerous. The alert described him clearly: 6 feet tall, brown and gray hair, last seen driving a 2022 black Nissan Pathfinder. Communities across Calgary, Burspa, and Mountain View County were told to stay inside, to lock their doors. This section is pure suspense. It shows a city on edge, knowing a killer was out there, unpredictable, possibly desperate. Finally, at 3:40 p.m., police located Benedict near his vehicle in Water Valley. By the time they arrived, he was already dead. He had taken his own life. The threat ended, but the damage was irreversible. The aftermath of the murders is where the emotional weight fully lands. Peter, broken by the loss of his sister and father, said, "It completely broke me down. I knew life was never going to be the same for us again." His words are raw, simple, and devastating. A GoFundMe was created by Ania's friend Diana to support the 3 children. The community responded with overwhelming generosity, raising more than $341,000. Money can never replace a mother, but it became a lifeline for the children's future. Alina and Peter decided they would adopt the children. She would do anything for them, Peter said of his sister. Absolutely anything. Their determination to protect the kids reflects resilience, a refusal to let Benedict's violence destroy the children's chance at life. The two older children began therapy. They asked questions about their father, questions the guardians tried to redirect toward memories of their mother and grandfather. The tragedy will never leave them, but they are being guided toward healing. On January 11, 2025, Calgary stood still. The winter air was sharp, the skies heavy, with a quiet sorrow, as family, friends, and neighbors gathered at Our Lady Queen of Peace Catholic Church. Inside, the pews overflowed. Some came clutching rosaries, others holding tissues, all bound together by grief. The church, filled with candlelight and hymns, became a sanctuary where heartbreak and remembrance intertwined. This was the funeral mass of Ania and Stanislaw Wardzala. Father and daughter, lives stolen too soon, but lives that had left a mark too deep to fade. The service was more than a farewell. It was a celebration of love, of resilience, of the bonds that even violence could not erase. Their final resting place was Queen's Park Cemetery, a quiet stretch of ground where Calgary's stories are written in stone. On that cold day, two more names were carved into history, not as victims only, but as people remembered for how they lived. The father who brought traditions from Poland, the daughter who devoted herself to children, family, and community. Instead of flowers, the family made a powerful request. They asked for donations to domestic violence charities, such as the Calgary Women's Emergency Shelter and Fear is Not Love. It was not an easy ask. Funerals are often about comfort, about beauty in the form of blooms laid at the altar. But this choice was deliberate. It was not just symbolic, it was a call to action. The message was clear. We cannot undo what happened, but we can prevent it from happening again. Every dollar given, every conversation sparked, every pamphlet handed out in those charities became a seed of hope. A quiet rebellion against the silence that too often surrounds domestic abuse. And in that decision, we see something profound. The story does not end in darkness. It ends in legacy. Ania and Stanislaw continue to live, not only in the soft memories shared at the funeral, but in the lives they touched while here. For Ania, her legacy rests in the children she raised, the students she taught, and the community she served with warmth and energy. Her classrooms were filled with laughter, her lessons laced with patience. Those children will carry a part of her in every achievement, every dream they chase. For Stanislaw, his legacy is found in the traditions he passed on, in camping trips, in Polish hymns sung at Christmas, in the simple values of faith and perseverance he instilled in his children. He remains a guiding presence, even in absence. A patriarch whose strength does not vanish with his final breath. And together, their legacy shines most brightly through the three children left behind. They carry their mother's eyes, their grandfather's determination, their family's spirit. Though their path forward is heavy with loss, they will never walk it alone. They walk with the love of a community, with the guardianship of their uncle Peter, and with the enduring imprint of two lives lived with meaning, and to honor the lives of Ania and Stanislaw by protecting those still here. This story, at its core, follows the arc of life, love, and destruction. It begins with Promisania's birth, her parents' immigrant dream, her early achievements, her children, her bond with her father. Each of these moments paints a portrait of warmth, of resilience, of a family who built their life on love and tradition. But as the narrative unfolds, conflict seeps in like a shadow. Benedict Kaminski, once seen as a husband and father, becomes the quiet storm. The Christmas argument was not just about where a child should sit. It was about power, about control, about a man who could not stand to lose what he thought he owned. Then, in a matter of days, that shadow consumed everything. violence erupted with devastating force. First, a father taken from his home, a man who once carried traditions, who loved his children and grandchildren, who lived to keep his family close. Then, a daughter murdered in her own home, in front of the very children she dedicated her life to protecting. 2 lives stolen, 3 children left with memories too heavy for such young hearts to bear. What makes this tragedy even more haunting is the detail. These are not faceless victims. Ania was a teacher, a dancer, a scout, a mother who packed lunches and read bedtime stories. Stanislaw was a provider, a mentor, a man who brought his family from Poland to Canada to give them a better chance. Every detail of their lives, the schools, the scout uniforms, the laughter in the mountains makes the loss feel sharper, more real. And yet, within this darkness, there is also resilience. Peter's love for his sister and father, his promise to raise the children with the same traditions and values they grew up with, shows us that grief can transform into strength. The community that rallied with donations, prayers, and support proved that even when tragedy breaks a family, it cannot break the bonds of compassion. This is not only the story of a crime, it is the story of a family shattered, a community grieving, and 3 children who will forever carry both the light of their mother's love and the shadow of what was taken from them. It is also a reminder of the silent dangers of domestic control. If this story has touched you, please don't let it fade into silence. Share it, talk about it, raise awareness of the warning signs of domestic violence. These conversations might save a life. And if you want to see more stories like this, true stories of resilience, tragedy, and lessons we must never forget,